Hi.
Welcome.
Hi.
Go ahead and take a seat.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Michelle McGowan.
Oh, Fenmore Atkins.
Hi, good morning.
Hi.
Have a seat right
Oh,
there.
you can call me Fan.
Finn, okay.
Yeah.
Finn. Okay, Finn, I just wanted to say again, welcome, and I'm glad that you're here today. Did you have trouble finding the place?
Well, I had got into that one lane, and I thought it was a 2-lane road, and then it all of a sudden became a 1-lane road, and so I kind of got diverted a little bit right there, but then I realized my mistake and quickly got back on track.
Are you talking about on Green Street?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Really kind of like, oh no, but I made it. So.
Oh, yeah, I know. That road confuses a lot of people,
Yes.
so that's perfectly normal.
Yes.
So I just want to say welcome again. I'm glad you kind of found it okay.
Thank you.
I just wanted to start out and make sure you know that this is a safe, confidential zone, so please feel free to be open and honest with me. The only time that anything would ever come out of this room is if you had any suicidal ideations or thoughts, or if you told me that you wanted to hurt or injure somebody, or if you had ongoing domestic violence, abuse, or neglect with elderly or a child, or with a person that is disabled. Also, if I receive a court order.
Okay.
So again,
Sure.
please feel free to be open and honest with me, okay?
Sure.
And so, Finn, you said I can call you Finn.
Yes.
What brings you here today?
Well, I have this feeling that's really, usually when I have this feeling in the pit of my stomach, it's just like something happens afterwards, and then I start regressing again, and I feel like I've made so much progress, from when everything originally happened, but I definitely do not want to regress if I can help it. So I've never actually been to counseling before, but I felt like I really didn't know what to do because I definitely don't want to go back to the way I was before.
So it definitely sounds like you sought counseling yourself because you just have this feeling of regression.
Yeah, I have this feeling in the pit of my stomach that like something bad is something bad is forthcoming, and I'm just like really. I feel that way a lot of times, and then I'll regress back to being afraid and having those nightmares again. And I definitely don't want to go back to having those fears and the nightmares and what have you. I'm really I don't want to go back to that if at all possible.
So it definitely sounds like you're having a rough time, that something in the pit of your stomach is just making you feel some type of way, and you don't want it to sit you back and to cause you to regress back to a situation that was causing you some trouble, it sounds like.
Yeah, basically it all kind of began when I had this really odd thing happen to me. I was, 24, and of course it's been so long ago, but I was 24, and I was studying for my graduate degree, Master's of Psychology, and I had a part-time job, and I lived with my fiance, and we had a little apartment off campus, and like a lot of our friends did too. It was just a really fun time of my life. I was starting to spread my wings and get more confident about everything because everything seemed to be coming together for me.
Yeah.
So I felt really happy, and my fiance and I were in a great place. We had just gotten engaged recently, and we were planning the wedding, and we were so excited about that. And then this really strange thing just happened, and it just kind of it was just so odd. But, and basically I was at the house, the apartment, and there was a knock on the door, and my fiance had gone to play bridge with some friends. He was an instructor at a local college in town, and he and the guys would get together to play bridge here and there. He was a little bit older, than me. So basically, there was a knock on the door, and I looked through the little peephole, and there was this, what I thought, to be a kid at the door. It was a male, And he was like, hey, is Mr. B here? And that's what the students usually called my fiance because, his last name is like, really kind of hard to pronounce for them. So anyway, they would just say Mr. B, instead of his real name or his, the full name. And so I was like, oh no, he's not here. And, he was just like, oh, well, he told me to come by to get some tutoring tonight. And he hadn't mentioned it, to me, but I was just like, well, maybe he forgot because, I was busy going to grad school, working part time, and I was taking all honors classes, and honors classes are really tough, so I definitely had to put a lot of time into my studies, but it all paid off because I was really good at it and, everything, but I was just like, he could have forgotten, so let me, I was like, oh, well, I guess, you can give me your phone number and then I'll let him know when he gets home and he can call you and you guys can reschedule. So I opened the door for him to come in and I basically went back to get my pen and paper because we kept that in the kitchen by the phone at that time and the voicemail machine. And so I came back with everything and I was like, okay, I'm ready to, take down your information. And he started fiddling with his pockets. And then I noticed that the door was locked and him inside, the little chain, lock. And I was like, it's weird. And it was just a really odd, strange, interaction. And basically, he walked towards me and ended up, he said, if you scream, I'll kill you. And he proceeded to walk me into our bedroom where he did rape and sodomize me at the time. So it really, I feel like that's probably where everything began for me with the kind of regression that I was talking about previously.
Wow, that sounds like a really frightening situation and a traumatic situation.
Like, I don't really remember much about it, honestly. I think that, I just kind of blocked it out of my mind. Yeah.
So you just kind of locked that inside, just kind of blocked it from your mind.
Yeah.
Just because it was so traumatic.
I just really don't feel anything about it other than that it was odd and strange. It was so strange to me, it was just strange to have had that kind of an interaction with another human being.
I'm sorry that you went through that. So it sounds like that you just kind of went numb.
I think so. And like my fiance Eric, he was just like, afterwards he was like, I feel like you're like short-tempered and you're just like emotionally unavailable. So I guess numb is a good word to describe it. Yeah.
So before this happened, you were in a really great situation, a great state in your life. You were in grad school, you're making great grades, you're in an honors program. I mean, that's a huge success. And you were engaged, and you're around 24, and you were just really had your own apartment, and you were in a really happy place in life. And then the situation happened to you, and it just kind of made you kind of just feel strange, and maybe numb, not really feel anything towards that, it sounds like.
It was really odd, and it was just so strange, and like the whole thing, how it happened was really like what happened afterwards was strange too, and like I don't know, I just like I really felt like at the time, of course, after it all happened, I threw a robe on. I didn't shower. I threw a robe on and I went upstairs to our upstairs neighbors and I told them, I said, oh my gosh, I've been raped and robbed, because he also took $100 out of my pocketbook as well before he left. And they were like, what? You seem so calm and, you're not crying or, are you sure? What and they just seemed kind of put off that I wasn't like in tears or But I feel like I was kind of shocked about the whole thing, you know, at that time. And I was like, yeah, you know, I definitely was just raped and robbed. You know, I need to call the police. And so I called the police, and the detective came out and, you know, got me. And they told me on the phone, don't take a shower. And I was like, oh, I haven't, you know, because I mean, I was a psychology major. So, you know, I knew not to take a shower and all that. And because I've had people come in, you know, before and speak to us in our classes, you know, about victims of rape and what have you. And so he came and picked me up, and I called my fiance, and I told him, I said, hey, you know, I might need you to come back to the house, you know, I've been raped and, you know, robbed. And so he just kind of met us at the hospital, and they did the, you know, exam on me, and of course I had to get treated for STDs, which was not something that people really care to have done, but and then, you know, they were just like, you know, talking with me and everything. And I told the police officer, the detective, I said, I really want to go tonight and look through the mug shots because I can feel this guy's face just fading in my mind. I could literally feel it fading away. And I felt like if I don't go ahead and act on this now and go through the mug shots and look for him, I won't be able to recognize him. I feel like it's going to be gone. And the detective was like, oh, everybody feels like that, you know, but you need your rest. You've been through a very traumatic, but I didn't feel like I had been through a very traumatic incident. I wanted to do something about it. And I really felt strongly that I was going to not be able to identify my assailant if I didn't do it right then. And he was just like, no, 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 you have to rest, you know, we'll pick you up tomorrow. And I was just like, I am not going home and resting. So I ended up making my fiance Eric take me to one of his friends' houses that night. And it was so great because they had all these kids there. And I was just like, I felt much better being like part of life in general. I didn't want to go home and sleep, or I mean, I just didn't. I couldn't sleep after all that. So yeah, it was just so odd.
So it sounds like after that event that you feel like wasn't really traumatic, more that you just wanted to take action and to catch your assailant.
I did.
And you wanted to do that right then and there. Even though you went to the hospital and you had to get treated for, you know, STDs, which, you know, I could tell that, you know, was obviously something that struck a chord in you.
Yeah.
Didn't make you feel too great, but you just wanted to take action right then and right there.
Right, like sleeping was the last thing on my mind after that. I wanted to, you know, find this guy. I wanted to, you know, get him arrested. I felt like that was the only way I could maybe have some peace and not fear.
Yeah, so it sounds like that catching that guy would have helped you rest.
I feel like it would have.
But until then, kind of sounds like you couldn't rest because you wanted to take action and to catch that guy.
Yeah, and I felt like I had to be a part of something and not just go home and curl up in a ball and rest.
So going with Eric's friends who lived with their children, it kind of just helped you feel a part of something.
Yeah, I just really wanted to feel normal, I think, and not, you know, like be in that strange situation anymore.
What do you think? Can you elaborate on normal for you?
Like for me, normal was, you know, people with kindness and without violence, and you know, like I've never had any incidences of any violence before that. And then after that happened, like 3 weeks later, our apartment was vandalized and burglarized, and then that just set me off so bad. I was so like upset about that. I mean, I really felt like I handled that more poorly than I did the rape and sodomization and robbery. I feel like I don't know why, I just couldn't handle that calmly when that happened. I literally just lost it when that happened. And I was like, Eric, I'm not going back there. I'm not going to live in that place anymore. And so he went and packed our stuff, and we moved in with friends temporarily.
So it sounds like for you, you handled the rape and sodomization better than you did the burglary.
I think I did.
Can you elaborate on that? Like how was your emotions and your feelings during that time?
I think I was very calm, about the rape, and I was handling it logically, with not out emotion getting involved, because emotion getting involved a lot of times will make things worse. And then with the vandalization and the burglary of the apartment, I just went ballistic. I could not handle it. I was just like, I was freaking out, and like I cried, I screamed. I didn't do any of those things when, I got raped and sodomized and robbed.
It sounds like the burglary made you really more upset and
Yeah.
than the rape did.
I think it just like, I don't know if it was like the straw that broke the camel's back, or, because it was like only 3 weeks later when that happened. And I was just like, okay, I'm done. I'm done with this apartment. I'm not going to go back there again. So I never went back. I mean, I even made Eric go by himself and pack everything up.
It sounds like that was a really traumatic situation where you couldn't even face going inside of that apartment. So you sent Eric, your fiance, to just go pack up everything, and then y'all moved in with friends.
Yeah.
Just get away from that situation in that apartment that you just couldn't be part of any longer.
Yeah. It was very, very, I mean, I just couldn't, I told him, I said, I can't go into that apartment again. I just can't. So I literally left with the clothes on my back. After we saw what had been happening, we went to a friend and stayed with them, that night. And then I was like, I'm not going back. I didn't go back for my toothbrush. I didn't go back for my hair dryer. I made Eric go back and get everything.
It definitely sounds like, that's a perfectly logical feeling to have after you've been through such traumatic events.
It was just like a nightmare. And then the nightmare started after that. That's when the nightmare started. And I always have the same nightmare every single time.
Can you tell me more about the nightmares?
Yeah, basically what happens is I'll be sleeping and everything will be good. And then I'll have this nightmare, and it's the same one every single time. And it's me, and I'm walking by myself down the street to my house to the apartment. It's me as a 24-year-old grad student before all this happened, walking to my apartment. And I notice that somebody behind me is following me, and it's a guy, and he has the same build as the guy that, raped and sodomized me and robbed me. And, it's the same kind of build, same kind of characteristics, stature, weight. And then I'm like, oh no, he's going to come back and do it again. And so I'm walking really fast, and he starts walking really fast, and then I'm fumbling with my keys at the door, and they catch me. He catches me every time at the door. And that's when I wake up, right after that.
So what do you do when you wake up?
Usually I have a little panic episode of some sorts, and I'm really hyperventilating and what have you. And so I just have to get up and do some of my coping techniques that I do, which is breathing into a paper bag for a bit, and I do my deep breathing, and then I'll just try to calm down, that way.
So it sounds like your nightmares that you're having is kind of a reflection of the man who raped and sodomized you and robbed you.
Yeah, it seems and like I said, I lost the image of him, because the detective wouldn't let me, come in that night and look at it. So they called me in later, and they were like, hey, come on in. And I was just like, oh, good, I'm going to put this, butthead to jail. And so I'm looking through, and there was nothing. And I was just so upset because, basically, I don't remember I have no recollection. All I can remember is his build. That's all about how tall he was and about how, thin he was. That's it.
So it sounds like when the cops did call you back to try to identify this person, that you lost memory of that person, and all you could recognize was just the person's build, but you couldn't really recognize the person's face.
And the mugshots, they're not the whole body picture.
Mhm.
They're just the little face, you know? So there was no way that I was going to be able to recognize him because I literally went blank on the face, the physical characteristics other than bodies, height and weight. That's all I could recall.
So all you could recall at that point was the person's height and weight and body shape, and that's kind of what you see in those nightmares is that person's height, body weight, and out structure, but not the face.
Right, I don't see any face at all. It's just nothing in the face. In my nightmares, there's no eyes, nose, mouth. Yeah.
So when this nightmare happens, how does it make you feel?
Well, my throat will tighten a little bit, and my heart's racing when I wake up. I'm real thirsty, and I'm I'm hyperventilating, and just feeling really, really, really scared.
Sounds like it's making you really panicked and scared.
Yeah.
In the situation when these nightmares occur. How often do they occur?
Right now, I've actually been a lot better. And then, like I said, every time I have this little queasiness, I call it in the pit of my stomach. It's this bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. It's kind of queasiness. Then usually the nightmares start back up after that, and then I start, reliving the rape and sodomization and the robbery. Of course, it's mostly the rape and sodomization.
So it sounds like your body's kind of giving you indications.
Yeah.
That something's about to happen. And you know that means this nightmare is going to happen.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's already taken away, this one incident, and I'm literally, this is 20 years later, you know what I'm saying? So, this one incident that happened 20 years ago when I was 24 years old has taken away, almost everything good in my life. Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that? What it's taken away from you?
Well, because I no longer feel I just don't feel as much, for one thing. I have diminished emotional feelings. I'm better now than I used to be. I'm not interested in sex at all. I can still have sex, but I'm not interested in it. And, I just feel like it took away my innocence. So that's how I feel. And I don't feel comfortable. I'm more careful than the average person when I'm out and about, especially in the urban area, because that's the area that we lived in, Eric and I, when we were together there in the city. And I'll lock my doors, 2 times, and I walk in groups of people, and I'm just really, observant of what's around me at all times, and I walk with my keys threaded in between my finger, so I can defend myself if something were to happen. I'm just really cautious. I'm a cautious person.
It definitely sounds like this situation has definitely changed the way you used to live when you were 24. Even though it's been 20 years, it's still something that you constantly relive and re-go through. And you're still on top of it. Make sure you're just safe and cautious.
Yeah, and I mean, Eric and I are still together, you know what I'm saying? And we did get married. We didn't have the big, wedding because I didn't feel like I could, after that. So we didn't have the big wedding. We just eloped. And things, like I said, have gotten better. I can't be around, movies. When we go to the movies, I have to know, what is the movie about? Because if there's a rape scene in the movie, I can't watch it. It just brings it all back to me. And then I relive every single detail of the rape, except the face of my assailant.
Definitely sounds like there's just various things that can trigger.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about other things that possibly trigger?
Yeah, books about rape. I can't read. I mean, I love to read books. You know what I'm saying? I read books a lot, and if I'm reading even a little mindless book, if it's got a rape scene in it, it brings it all back to me. So I basically avoid and I make sure I know before I read a book if it has any rape scenes in it. And I make sure I know before I go to the movies or before I watch a sitcom on television or, anything. I make sure I avoid all references to rape.
Sounds like it causes a lot of extra stress and pressure to make sure you go out of your way to avoid all of these things.
Yeah, but it's better than like hitting it head on and then, having to deal with the recall of the rape, like for a long time.
So you do these things just to kind of avoid it, so you don't have to hit it head on, so you don't have to recall the rape.
Yeah, it's my coping mechanism. I just avoid. I avoid all inferences and references of rape in general in any aspect of my life.
That's completely understandable.
Yeah.
Do you talk to Eric about these feelings?
I mean, I have before, but honestly, thankfully, he's not like huge into sex. You know what I'm saying? He's very smart and, he's older than me. I think I mentioned that before. So, he was already an established instructor at a college, when we started dating and also in grad school. So, he's older now, too. Like, he's literally 15 years my senior. So, he's older and he didn't really want kids. And, I wanted kids before this happened. And then, after this happened, I just was like, nah, it's not going to happen for me. So, we've stayed together, and he's so loving and so supportive. And luckily for me, he basically tells me all the time he fell in love with me because of who I am on the inside, not because of who I am on the outside, and not because of what I can do for him.
That's great.
So I felt like he would love me all my life, no matter how I aged or how, bad things got between us.
So it sounds like y'all met when he was an instructor and you were in grad school.
Yeah, he wasn't at my school though.
He wasn't at your school.
No.
So he was an instructor at a different school and you were in grad school and y'all met and just kind of fell in love and y'all's relationship's been great and he's still very supportive even when we communicate with him about the situations and you're kind of avoiding certain things, he's still very supportive of you.
Oh yeah, he's the one that'll do the research. Like he'll be like, I checked out this movie. It's supposed to be pretty cool, and I've already researched it. And that's our little phrase. If he says, I've already researched it, that means it's a go, and it has no instances of rape in it.
Oh, that's great. So he's definitely a great, huge support to you.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And he does the research and make sure that he checks everything out before he puts you in that situation because he knows that can trigger some thoughts.
Definitely.
Have you ever talked to him about, or what's his perspective on your triggers, or when the nightmares happen? Is he there when those nightmares occur?
Oh yes. The bad thing is he's a real heavy sleeper, so he typically sleeps through most of it. And I actually feel bad about having the nightmares, so I'll go out of the room if I start having. If I wake up and I'm like breathing heavily, I'll leave the room. So, yeah.
So he's really sleeping heavily when you're having these nightmares and then you leave the room.
Yeah, I don't want to disturb him. Right.
Do you ever feel depressed when you get in these situations? Like you ever want to harm yourself or harm somebody else when you get in these nightmare situations or any situations?
I mean, just my assailant, but I don't even know what he looks like.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your childhood and your upbringing. I know you said that you had a pretty good life while you were in college. And
I had a great life. I mean, definitely my mom and dad, they were married before they started having us kids. And, basically I'm like the oldest of our family. Now, I do have a half-sister. But she's kind of estranged from our family. She was my father's daughter from a previous relationship. But basically, we've never really had much to do, with her. So, and my dad really, I'm the daddy's girl, of the kids. So it's basically me. I'm the oldest, and there's three of us. And basically, I'm the daddy's girl. Dad and I have always had this hugely close relationship, and he'll even call me to this day, and he'll be like, "How's daddy's girl doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, hey, Dad, I'm doing good. How are you?" And like we have this real big rapport, and like my younger sister was my mom's favorite, and my mom like taught her how to cook and clean and all, and that was just boring to me. So I just really like bonded with my father right off the bat, and my dad was huge in academia. Like he was basically the vice principal of our local high school. So I grew up with him there, and he had his doctorate degree, and he was super smart, and he didn't get paid much because it was a small town, but we didn't really have any struggles, so to speak. Because my mom worked too, and she was a teacher, so we had a lot of education, and my dad really liked it. I think we bonded because I'm the smartest too, and my little sisters, they're not as academically driven as I am, and they all have kids, so I have lots of nieces and nephews, so yeah.
Definitely looks like I can tell that it brings you a lot of joy. Your family, especially your dad, brings you a lot of joy.
Yeah, my dad has this special place in my heart, and like he's the first person that ever gave me a dozen roses, and so he kind of like always put me on this little pedestal and was my personal cheerleader growing up. So it was nice to, get that kind of. I mean, we were in, the New England area, so he was just this great dad, and he just did he did everything for us. So yeah.
So you grew up in the New England area?
Yeah, Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. So how was that living?
That's where I was actually attending school in Pennsylvania when I got raped, and so I really. We kind of lived outside of that area in a small town, so I still go back home there, but I can't really live in that area right now. Like, I haven't been able to live in that area, so I don't like living in urban areas at all anymore, and so, we live, like, the next town over from my parents, Eric and I, and he just commutes into town for his job. Yeah.
So do you get to still see your parents a lot?
Oh, yes. Totally. Yes, we see each other often. Definitely.
So sounds like you have a pretty great support system with your parents and with Eric.
Definitely.
And have you communicated or talked to them about your rape and your sodomization?
Oh yeah. I told everybody. Like I told everybody. Like I told all my friends. Because I wanted them to know. I mean, it's important, I feel like, having been in the Master's of Psychology program to, tell your story and to help others learn from it and to grow and, to be like a walking testimonial that if this happens to you, you can be okay afterwards.
It definitely sounds like you're a strong person and that you believe in sharing your story because it helps make you a stronger person. It helps you go through that.
And you wouldn't believe the response I got from people. I mean, every time I shared the whole story about what had happened to me, people were just like, wow, that's so amazing that you've mastered this, and they would just be like so supportive. And so every person that I was telling it to was just super supportive of me, and it just really made me feel better about the situation and made me want to tell more and more people.
So definitely talking about the situation just help you cope with the situation.
Oh gosh,
feel better with the situation.
Definitely.
Oh gosh. So do you still talk about it and raise awareness?
I mean, I do because I'm a guidance counselor at one of the local middle schools. So I do have a talk like once a year. I'll talk about it. And to the kids at the school, but I don't like I don't like to talk about it. Like, after you've told somebody, the first couple of times, they're just like, ready to talk about other things.
So you said you're a guidance counselor at the elementary school?
The middle, yeah.
Oh, the middle school. Tell me more about that.
Well, I really thought, when I got my master's in psychology, I was like, I really want to be a guidance counselor. I thought that would be great. And I grew up with my parents, working at school. So I was like, I thought that would be wonderful. And since, I felt like I didn't want to have kids of my own anymore, I felt like it would be a good way to be involved with children, and yet not be a parent, at the same time. So I wanted to contribute to children. So that's why I went on back through and got my teacher certification and everything else, and then, became a guidance counselor. So, yeah.
It sounds like being a guidance counselor helped fill that void that you felt when you wanted to have kids and you no longer want to have kids. It's not you have them.
Yeah, I think it does help me. It helps me because I really wanted kids so bad. I mean, like I said, Eric didn't really want them, but he was okay either way, whatever I decided, because he was older. So he said it's your decision, and so I just kind of thought about it, and I was all gung ho for it before the rape happened, and then afterwards I just was like, I can't, because I'm just not even interested in sex at all.
So I know you keep saying you're not interested in sex, so can you tell me more about that?
It's honestly, I feel like it's that I just don't want to have sex. Like, it's not that I don't love Eric anymore. It's just that I just have no desire at all for sex.
So when did these feelings start? Did it start after the rape?
Oh, yeah, immediately after. Yeah.
So that's when your feelings of sex just kind of stopped, and Eric is kind of supportive of that.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes, I'm not saying that we never have sex, because we do, but, like, sometimes, he has to do, a few things to get me in the mood or something, and, like, if he's taking me out to eat or to this nice romantic, place, and doted on me and bought me flowers or something, it'll put me in the mood, and then we'll have sex, but it's not something that I ever initiate, and I don't really like it. I don't really want to do it, just not being prompted in any way.
So it sounds like that y'all still do have sex.
Oh, yeah.
But it's something that definitely he has to kind of work hard to kind of put you in the mood.
Yeah. And he's okay with that. I mean, we've talked about it, and, he understands. He's a very educated person, and he totally gets it.
Definitely sounds like y'all have a great relationship, and y'all really communicate.
Oh, yeah, we communicate very, very well. And he's always been super supportive. And literally, I feel like the man just lives for me. I really do. I feel like he lives for me. And whatever I want to do, whatever I want is good. It's fine.
So you just feel like he's just always there, that he really just lives for you, that he'll do anything for you.
Yeah.
And how does that make you feel?
I mean, I wish I could say that I felt really elated about it, but I don't really feel elation that much anymore. My emotions are kind of capped off still. I feel like I've handled the whole rape situation very well.
Yeah.
But yet I'm never going to be that girl that was 24, and whatever amount of days before the rape happened. I'm not going to be that girl anymore ever. Like, I've lost her.
So you just feel like you kind of lost that person that you used to be.
Yeah, I'm not that person anymore. I am a shadow of that person at best.
Can you tell me more about that?
Well, because, like, I kind of say it that way because a shadow, you can't see emotion on a shadow. And you can't, like, see details on a shadow. But on a person, you can see emotion. You can see it very clearly, very plainly, and you can see, what that person's all about. So I kind of feel like I dampen my emotions in a way to cope with what's happened to me.
So it sounds like before, when you were 24, you had all these emotions and you were a happy person.
Oh, gosh, yes.
But now it's kind of like you're just a shadow of your previous self, emotionless, it sounds like.
I wouldn't say emotionless, but very, I would call it, like, diminished emotions. So I don't ever get as happy as I used to get. I don't ever get as sad as I used to get. I don't ever laugh as hard as I used to laugh. And I just feel like Eric basically said it when he said, I feel like you're emotionally unavailable sometimes to me. And I do feel that way. I feel like I'm not here, all here emotionally.
So sometimes you just feel like, and other people actually recognize it, that you're just not on here emotionally.
Yeah.
So how does that make you feel when you hear him say that you're not here emotionally?
I mean, I feel sad a little, that I wish I could be that girl that I was before. But I mean, 20 years have passed, and I feel like I'm at a point where I'm as good as it's probably ever going to get. Because I feel like I've done really well with the situation. I mean, I didn't even go to counseling.
So you feel like you've lost that girl, but you feel like you're in a place where you're okay with where you're at 20 years
I
later.
don't feel like there's any way for me to get any better. But I'm trying to hedge off like another relapse, like a regression from coming on.
So basically, it sounds like that you're feeling like you're not going to really get better, that you're not going to get to that point where you were 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But you just want to make sure you're here to kind of avoid a relapse,
Right.
Going back into that regression.
Right. I don't want to get bad again. I might not ever get better, and I might not ever be as, like the girl that I was before this happened, but I definitely don't want to get worse again. Because I have been much worse, and I don't want that to happen, for sure.
Tell me about you've been much worse. What do you mean by that?
Like, when the, vandalism and the burglary happened, I just, totally, lost it. And I was, screaming and crying, and, I was like, I'm never going back in there again, and I was just, so, out of control with my emotions. My emotions were all over the place, and then the nightmares, that's the worst too. The nightmares, and every once in a while I'll be walking, down the street, and I'll see somebody that resembles the build of my assailant, and I'll just get really freaked out and have to run to my car or run to somebody's house, that I know, or whatever, and get with a group of people, and I'll start calming down then. I can't even watch movies that have a rape incident in it either. So that pretty much cuts out a lot of television for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you don't want to go back to that situation where you're feeling like, how long were you feeling like that
Oh,
in
my
that situation?
goodness. After the vandalism and the burglary, I was in a state of, it was awful, emotional hell is what I called it, emotional hell. And I was like that for probably a month and a half or so.
Did you ever go to a hospital or take any medication to help you with this?
No, I just started, basically I took some time off work at my part-time job, and I took the rest of the semester off. I got an incomplete from my professors. I told them what had happened. And they were all so supportive of me. And I took that time, and I just basically calmed myself down, and I started avoiding any references to rape. We moved in with those friends of ours, so I gradually got better by avoiding, the place where it happened, and by avoiding all any reference of rape. From my life. And basically from that point on, I started to get better a little bit by a little bit. And then I was finally back to being what I consider to be manageable, after I kept telling people. Because when I told my professors and I told them I needed, the time off, I was really ashamed, that I didn't defend myself better. And they were so supportive that it gave me a little boost my self-esteem, and it gave me a little piece of myself back, and made me feel not so bad about the way I had handled the situation. And then I started just telling a lot of people about what had happened. That's when I started telling everybody, about what had happened and getting support. And little by little, all that really helped me.
So it sounds like that you were in a situation where for about a month and a half that you were in your own emotional hell, you felt like. That's what you called it, your emotional hell.
Mm-hmm.
And that just slowly, taking time off and just kind of self-care maybe, that you just started feeling better when you told your professors. It kind of opened the door because they were receptive to that and supportive, that it just kind of opened the door for you to tell more people and share your story, which made you come to a situation where you can manage it. Not better, but it made you able to live with it.
Right. And then I stopped being so short-tempered, with Eric, and, I just started being a little, but then I went to the more like, I guess you would call it blunt emotional, responses instead of, I didn't do any highs or lows at all then. I just kind of I feel like I'm in this little tiny range right now, where I can only get so happy, but I can also only get so sad, and I can only get so angry, and I can only get so nervous, and then that's it.
So it sounds like it kind of just put you in a flatline situation.
Almost, yeah. I mean, I have a little bit of variation, but not a ton. I'm pretty mellow, I guess. And that's probably good for some people, but I feel like, I've lost part of myself because I was an extremely happy, vibrant, bright individual who I felt like I had the world by its tail, and I was going to do things and what have you, and then it just sucked that great level of joy out of my life.
So it sounds like that situation really just sucked that person, that joyful person that used to be out of your life.
Yeah.
And it's brought you to the kind of flatline person that you feel like you are now.
Yeah, I just don't have the emotional range anymore.
Do you ever recall situations that take you back to joyful situations now, or is it just still, it's always flatline?
I mean, I calm myself by thinking about pleasant thoughts, when I'm getting upset or, after a nightmare or what have you. But it seems like all the pleasant thoughts that I reference back to are the ones before that night.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk more about the nightmares that you said that you have. About how many would you say you've had?
Oh my goodness, over my lifetime I've had probably thousands. But it's been, I haven't had any recently. I would say that I had them the last time I had a little regression of sorts. And since it's been about 5 years, actually, 5 years ago, I had what I call a mini regression, and I had nightmares for probably, I think it was about 2.5 weeks. And then I stopped having them because I was able to do a presentation for the school that I work for on my brain and everything. And there's some new teachers there and stuff who had never heard my story. And they came up to me and were like, wow, you just really mastered that whole situation. Look at you now. Who'd have thought it? You've come a long way. And I feel like that really is when I started having fewer and fewer nightmares. And then all of a sudden I didn't have any.
So it sounded like you had your nightmares. The last time you had it was kind of 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And then the 5 years ago you had it for 2.5 weeks straight, basically.
Absolutely.
Until you did a presentation, and then people were supportive of it and said how you just made it through, and how you're kind of just a trooper for that situation. But now you're here because you're kind of feeling like it's happening
something
again.
Might be coming. Yeah.
That something's going to be coming.
And I feel like, I don't know why I didn't never put this together before, but I almost kind of feel like, now that maybe by getting positive reinforcement, from people after hearing my story is what's really been the underlying thing that helps propel me forward.
Yeah, it sounds like that. When you get that encouragement from people that say, wow, I mean,
Yeah.
that was amazing that you've made it through that situation, that you're such a trooper through that situation, that it kind of just puts those nightmares to rest for a while.
Yeah. So, when I actually talked to Eric and I was like, Eric, I have that queasy feeling again, in the pit of my stomach. And he was like, Finn, I just don't know why you don't go, see a counselor. I mean, you're a guidance counselor, you know what I'm saying? And I was just like, I really don't know why I never think of myself as needing counseling. I just never really considered it. And he was like, will you please just make an appointment, with somebody? And he actually gave me your card because apparently you've done a presentation at his school or something that he works at. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try it. And, so he's basically getting my favorite takeout tonight since I'm coming here. He was like, I'll get you your favorite takeout.
So kind of a reward for if you come in.
Okay.
And a reward if you come and see counseling and try to just talk to someone, then he's going to get you your favorite takeout.
So I was like, okay, twist my arm. So, okay.
Yeah, he definitely sounds like he's very supportive husband. And he's just always there for you.
He's the best. He really is.
That's great. And how long have y'all been married?
Oh my goodness, we actually eloped when we were supposed to get married, but we didn't do it until after I was totally out of grad school. And I was in grad school when it happened, and then I graduated at 25. So literally, we're gonna hit our 20th anniversary next year. So yeah.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. I can't even believe that. It's been
great.
so long. Wow.
So I know you said that you are a guidance counselor and that you really do kind of help and talk and help guide students. Have you has a student ever come to you with this type of issue of being right?
Yeah.
Is that how does that make you feel?
I really like it, oddly enough, because I feel like I can relate to them. And, I feel like, I just want to help them through it, and I want it to not rob them of anything like it robbed me. I want them to be able to be back at the person they were at before all this happened.
So just kind of helping people just kind of makes you feel good.
Yeah. And I totally put myself out of the mix when I'm dealing with them. I don't know why I can deal with that, but I just can't deal with like a moving, when a rape is happening. I think it's because I can't do anything, oddly enough, about the movie that's happening to stop the rape or what have you, or to make it better. But I feel like I can do something to help this young girl or young boy, as the case may be, to improve after the fact with the rape.
It definitely sounds like you have that inside of you just to kind of help people.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when they go through, if they've been through that situation, if the kid's been through that situation, to help guide them through. And it doesn't trigger something into you, but instead it just makes you feel like, I want to help you through this because I know what you've been through and I've been through it.
Yeah, and I don't even tell them I've been through it. I mean, they probably know because of my presentation each year at school, but I never talk about myself, with them. And it's all about them and, how they can get through it. And we kind of develop a plan. And, of course, the first thing we do is make sure it's not an ongoing thing with them. So, because with kids, it's totally different. And it could be a parent that's doing that to them or an uncle or a grandparent or what have you. So,
yeah. So it definitely sounds like you definitely are kind of there and you're just a helping hand to help guide these students if they come to you with this type of situation. Yeah,
I love it. I consider all of them my kids.
Oh, that's awesome. So that's kind of why you even got into counseling, because you didn't want to have kids and now you feel like these are my babies.
Yeah, I didn't really get into counseling for that, but I got into the guidance counselor role because of that. Yeah, definitely. Because awesome. I just feel like I'm kind of like, I get to be their mommy from like 8:30 to 3 every day.
Yeah. So I know you said you're kind of feeling something in the pit of your stomach that's just, you feel like it's gonna come, that you're gonna have these nightmares.
It could come. Like I had that feeling probably, oh my goodness, it's been about 2.5 years ago. And nothing ever manifested, but it only lasted for like 24 hours. And so, like a full day. And then it was gone. And I'm not sure what happened to make it go away, but this has been going on for several days now.
So but no nightmares have happened.
Not yet.
But you feel that pit in your stomach.
I feel like it could start.
Is there something that, in that situation, what were you doing when you started feeling that pain in your stomach?
2.5 years ago?
No, just
recently?
for the last several days. You said when you started feeling that feeling. What were you doing?
I'm not really sure. I can't really put my finger on anything that might have made me start feeling that way. Really, I'm not sure.
Do you have any other triggers? Because I know you said besides the movies and the books and you avoid all that stuff,
right.
That you think that could trigger, that has triggered something inside you. So you kind of avoid that stuff. Is there something else, maybe something that you see or smell, or if you hear something that possibly could cause you to start feeling that way?
It's not. I don't really have any smell association, but I do have the like when I see anybody that resembles my assailant's build. If they're walking towards me, it's only if they're walking towards me though, or if I feel like they're following me. But usually it's if they're walking towards me and I notice, they're about 19, 20, 21. They're the same build as the guy, who came to my apartment. Then that will sometimes make me, my throat starts closing up and my chest starts, my heart starts beating. I get sweaty hands a little bit and, I have to, escape out of that situation. I have to get to my car or wherever I'm going, right away and get away from that individual.
So it sounds like when you see somebody who has the same shape, body form, weight coming towards you, that you kind of almost panic.
Yeah. If I feel like they're coming towards me, especially. Now, if I feel like they're following me, because I look, then I'll just turn down a busier street, or what have you. And 9 times out of 10, it's over then because they don't turn down the busy street. But it's especially frightening when somebody's coming towards me because that's what my assailant did. He started walking towards me, fiddling with his pocket, and I felt like he had a knife in his pocket.
So because your assailant came towards you, it's really frightening.
Yeah.
It really makes you panic when you see somebody that's of that build come towards you.
Yeah. And then I just kind of start remembering the details, like I'm watching a movie.
So in that situation, you actually start, when somebody comes towards you that has that build, you start remembering.
Sometimes.
It starts reliving that situation. You start remember that.
Sometimes I do. Yeah.
So it doesn't happen all the time.
No, not every time. Especially if the guy has a girl with him, I'm like, okay, it's okay, and I can calm myself and get control. But if the guy's alone, that's when it's really probably I'd say maybe 6 times out of 10 it's gonna happen, and I'm gonna start reliving the whole thing again.
Mm-hmm. So if the guy's with a girl, then you're like, okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay. You calm yourself down. But 9 times out of 10, you said?
6 times out of 10. If the guy's alone, majority of the time, a little over half.
Then you start kind of panicking.
Yeah, I'm just my throat starts closing up and my heart starts beating really hard, and I just have to get out of there. I start hyperventilating and stuff like that.
Can you tell me about the last time that this situation happened?
It has, especially if I'm alone. Now, if I'm with Eric, I just kind of grip him, a little tighter. And, he'll just he basically reads my cues all the time. And he'll just be like, okay, let's go get an ice cream, because there's an ice cream store right here.
Yeah.
He knows, she's nervous about something. Let me get Finn out of here,
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I'm just if I'm alone, and the guy's alone and coming towards me, that's when it's going to happen. Usually 6 times out of 10, probably.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say a little more than half the time.
So a little more than half the time.
Yeah.
6 times out of 10, you feel like if you're alone,
I'm gonna start
you're gonna start kind of panicking, hyperventilating almost. But if Eric's with you or if the guy's with the girl, then you're
right.
Okay, it's okay.
Right.
So then, those 6 times out of 10, what's your next move? What do you do next?
I have to like either like run into a store, that's heavily crowded. One time there was a police station really close, and I just ran to the police station. And I actually told the police officer what was happening, and he was like, "Okay, let's get your husband up here, and he can take you home." Or they were like, "Would you like one of us to drive you home or escort you home or whatever?" And I was like, "No, I just want my husband, to come." So then Eric would come with a friend of his so that the friend could drive my car back. Yeah.
So you just kind of duck it or go somewhere, kind of
Yeah.
go in the nearest place that you can find
And I
that
try to-
has crowded.
Yeah, heavily populated.
A heavy populated place, you try to just duck in there to kind of just get yourself out of that situation.
Yeah.
And then once you're out of that situation, what happens?
Well, I'm still kind of like, I might still be having the residuals, of it all. But I am able to get control of myself. Unless, nobody's ever followed me, thank God. But if the person was to follow me, I would probably lose control if we can.
Mm-hmm. But that nobody's ever followed you, but if the person was, you're to lose control. What do you mean by losing control?
Oh, I would probably really start screaming or and I'd go into the mode where I see the rape happening. Like I'm watching it as a movie. So yeah.
Definitely sounds like it's hard. That's a hard situation for you.
It's really been very, very hard, definitely.
Definitely sounds like it affects your everyday living every day.
Yeah. Most days I would say it does at least cross my mind.
So most days the rape and sodomization and robbery just kind of flashes in your mind.
Or either this Bill, what he said to me, something. I think of it just briefly. It might not even be but 1 millisecond, but I'll just flash back to it. You know what I'm saying? Just real briefly. And then I'll have to just hey, we're in the here and now. So I have to just redirect myself back to the present day.
So it sounds like almost every day you have some type of flashback or something, but then you're kind of able to just kind of click yourself out of it.
It's almost every day, but and sometimes I don't have to do much to get out of it. I'm just oh no, I can think about that, But other days it's harder, It's okay, that's not happening right now, That's not happening. Everything's okay now. That happened 20 years ago,
So on the days that it's harder, you kind of just talk to yourself and say, no, this is not happening. This is 20 years ago.
Right.
And then when you do that, what happens?
And then I'm able to usually calm down because I'll just, keep doing that positive. And they always call it positive self-talk in my classes. And I do that positive self-talk. And, I'll even look at myself in the mirror because I look a lot different now than I did when I was 24. So I'll look in the mirror. I'll be like, see, I'm 44 now. I'm not 24. That happened a long time ago. And I'm able to regain my footing on, the present. This is the present. It's not hurting me right now.
So when you're able to do that, you can just kind of self-talk, or you can look in the mirror and say, hey, look at you. You're not 24 anymore. This is 20 years later. You look different now. So it kind of just brings you back to the present.
Yeah.
Do you do that when you have the nightmares? What kind of brings you out of the nightmares?
I actually always wake up. It's so weird. I will wake up startled, of course. Right when I'm fumbling with the keys and the guy catches up to me and is reaching out to get me.
So you always wake up in same exact situation.
Yeah, and the guy's walking towards me and he's about to put his hand on my shoulder.
And then you wake up.
And then I wake up. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
then I'm also hyperventilating. I start hyperventilating and my heart's pounding and my throat's closing up. And then I'm so thirsty and I'll leave the room because Eric's such a sound sleeper and he really needs his sleep too. So I'll leave the room and then I'll just go downstairs and I'll just like do my deep breathing and I'll get some water and I'll maybe turn on some TV that's real mindless, but I have to be careful with that, too, with the whole, if there's a rape scene. So I generally watch some HGTV or something when that happens because there's not usually anything like that on HGTV.
So it sounds like you know exactly what to do to kind of help calm yourself down.
Yeah. I feel like I'm kind of managing well. I feel like I'm managing well.
It definitely sounds like you're managing very well.
I mean, but like Eric said, it can't hurt to try to manage it better and to get input from somebody else who's not directly affected with the situation.
Yeah.
So
basically, the situations happen basically is when you just see somebody walking towards you, or if you kind of see somebody kind of like in the back of you coming towards you, and that's kind of really what triggers it.
And like if I'm watching a movie and there's a rape
or the
scene
books.
or the books I read, I mean, you can't even read a Harlequin romance without a rape here and there, and I don't read those regularly, but I saw it one day, I was really stressed out and, everything. We had done like the CRCT testing at the school, and so I was helping proctor those exams and things. And I was like, I'm super out. So, okay, I went home and I was like, okay, glass of wine. I'm going to read some of the stupid little Harlequin romance novel, and that was a rape scene.
What was
So,
this?
I mean, that actually has been probably 10 years ago at least. It's been a while, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, no, and I just threw it across the room, and then I started like feeling my throat start tightening, and and I kind of like started trying to relive that whole experience of being raped again, and it was tough. It was very tough.
It definitely sounds like that was very tough for you when you get into that situation, when you start reliving that situation.
Yeah, that's hard. It's hard to break out of it, sometimes. And then other times it's like, nope, not going to go there.
But you haven't really relived that situation for 5 years.
Yeah, it's been about 5 years now. Yeah. So.
But it definitely sounds like you feel something's coming on, something's happening, and you're trying to avoid that coming. What have you done in the past besides, I know you have some coping mechanisms when you kind of wake up from a nightmare.
Right.
But to kind of avoid that sensation that you start feeling, or what kind have you done?
I don't know that it's anything more than just avoiding like the area of town. Like Eric and I never go back to the area, and we even have friends that live there still. Because one of our friends is a professor there. So he has a house in that urban area. They're trying to do the urban revitalization, of the area. And, he's invited us over to his house, and I'm friends with his wife, and we're like, no, we can't do that, So it's just mainly, I think, my main thing that I do to avoid or to not have that pit of my stomach queasiness feeling, that means that something's forthcoming, is I will, like, just avoid. I think avoidance is my most popular coping mechanism.
So it definitely sounds like avoidance is your key to go-to situation.
And I think it would probably be good for me to, get more coping skills in my arsenal going forward on how to deal with this. Because, I mean, I really would love to go to that friend of ours' house because I love old houses.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I watch HGTV a lot, and so does Eric. And I mean, I'd like to be able to go there and see his house, and see my girlfriend's house that he's married to. I get along great with them both, and Eric gets along great with them both, and we're just like, oh, we can do it. They always have to come to us every time we do anything together as, like couple friends.
Yeah.
They have to come all the way out to the suburbs to see us, and it would be nice to be able to go into, town and see their house.
And I know you said you have even thought about going back. I mean, you haven't even gone back. What do you think will happen? What do you think would happen if you did?
I don't know.
Go to that area.
I'm really kind of scared about it, even thinking about it. But I mean, it's something I'd like to work towards, but it's definitely nothing that I would try right now. You know, especially since I do have this queasiness in my stomach right now.
So it definitely sounds like you're open to options, kind of working towards
Yeah.
building yourself up to going back to
Yeah.
that area at least that you used to live in. But it's definitely not something you want to do right now.
No, I don't think I'm at a strong enough point right now. I feel like I'm a little vulnerable right now because of everything going on. And I feel like if I, you know, go to counseling and get a plan together, you know, on how to make sure I have much more coping skills than I have now. I feel like I just need to diversify my coping skills. I feel like I rely too heavily on the avoidance, and I also rely, you know, a little heavily on, you know, the positive self-talk and telling other people. I don't know, and Eric was just like, I really think, you know, you should go, you know, obviously you believe that counseling works or you wouldn't be a guidance counselor.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I just never thought of myself as, oh, I need to go to a counseling session because I felt like, I don't know, it just never occurred to me. I'm not
Yeah.
sure why.
Well, it's definitely something you sound like you definitely believe in counseling.
Oh, sure.
It sounds like you definitely want to change or maybe gather new coping skills instead of just avoidance or the ones that you have now. What kind of coping skills would you like? You think?
I mean, I think I would just like some different ones, besides just the avoidance, because avoidance, it seems like it's just, it just doesn't seem to be as productive for me right now, because, I don't know, I guess I'm getting tired of avoiding things, and like I said, I'd love to go see our friends in town, and I just don't feel like I can do that right now, and I feel like if I had other things to draw upon, maybe I could work myself up to where I could go into town and see my friend's home. Yeah.
So when you talk about your rape and your traumatization, do you tell details about it? Or is
Not
it more
at the
just
school, you know, of course. I do tell, you know, like, the first part of the story up until and then he walked me to the bedroom and raped me. I mean, I tell that he raped me. You know, I do say that. I don't give any details about the actual rape when I talk to the children, you know, about it.
Yeah.
And I actually have kind of blocked out the actual details of the rape itself, pretty much. I remember he raped me and that I thought, okay, there's several ways I can handle this. I can scream anyway because he was like, if you call the police or if you scream, I'm going to kill you. So I was like, I could have screamed anyway. But the thing is, my neighbors upstairs, they had their stereo on and it was super loud and it probably wouldn't have even been heard. So I feel like, okay, that would be me giving him a reason to kill me for nothing. And I thought he had a knife. I mean, I'm not positive, but he seemed to be fiddling with something in his like pocket. Or I could like try to hurt him, and he was very much larger than me. He was a buff, you know, not fat at all, you know what I'm saying, but he was a muscular dude, and he was taller than me, and it definitely outweighed me. So, because at the time I was really tiny, and I just felt like, okay, I'd probably lose that fight. So I thought to myself, okay, how can I make it out of this situation alive? And I thought, okay, the only other option is to submit. So I submitted to the rape. And basically, I felt a lot of shame about it at first because I didn't fight. Because although I was growing up, my dad and I were so close and everything, and I was definitely like a tomboy at heart, and I played tackle football with my cousins every Sunday and stuff like that. So I was a tough girl. I wasn't a little Miss Chris girl. I was a tough girl. And I always envisioned if somebody ever tried to hurt me, I was gonna like knock them out, and I even took a self-defense class, and all that just went out of my mind when the rape happened. I just went blank, and I was like, okay, my other options, like I could literally, within milliseconds, I had gone through all my options. I could do the A, B, or C, and C was submit, and that's what I ended up doing.
That definitely sounds like you did that because you went through your options and you felt like you picked the option, the most logical option that was basically going to save your life.
Yeah, and it was so weird because I was super proud that I made it through physically. I wasn't like, killed. I'm a survivor. And then at the same time, I was super ashamed.
So it sounds like you had some mixed emotions there.
Yeah.
And how did that make you feel? Like you kind of just feel a little bit of both situations.
Yeah,
emotions.
I just felt like I let myself down in a way. But yet I feel like I saved myself as well. It's just so odd. The whole situation is just very strange and odd to me.
It sounds like it's kind of odd and strange.
Yeah, it is.
That you could be feeling both emotions, like you're proud of yourself, but then you're also kind of feeling shame of yourself because you didn't fight back. But you're proud of yourself because you picked a logical option that's going to save your life.
Yeah, and I'm like proud that I didn't take a shower. I'm proud of how I handled the whole, let's go to the police station and write a report. Hell, I typed the report myself. The detective was doing this number. And I was like, let me just type it. So I got behind the desk and I just typed up my own statement. I didn't type the report, but I typed the statement. And I was like, I don't have time for this. I need to look at leg shots, and I was just like, move it, and took over. I mean, I felt like I was in control again, by taking over and typing my own report, my own statement, actually.
So you basically feel like you had control, and you kind of, when you were in that situation, you had no control.
Right.
And then the steps following, you felt like that's how you gained your control.
Back, right.
Yeah. By writing your own.
And that's why I wanted to go ahead and look at the mugshots that night, because I felt it. I could just feel that his face was leaving me. And I knew I wasn't going to ever be able to recall it.
Sounds like that was hard for you.
It was very hard because I tried to get him to let me, look at the mugshots, and he just wouldn't. He was like, no, you've been through a really traumatic experience. You need to go home and get some rest.
Sounds like that's a little bit upsetting too.
Yeah.
You wanted to look at those mugshots right then because you had his face.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it's very upsetting because the last thing I wanted to do was to sleep.
Yeah.
Like I did not want to sleep. I didn't feel safe. And nobody wants to sleep when they don't feel safe. It's really hard to sleep then.
So you just wanted to be proactive.
Yeah. I want to be in action mode. Definitely.
Did they catch your assailant?
Nope. Never caught him. So
how does that make you feel?
It feels awful. It's just awful. Especially knowing that this, guy was probably pretty young. I mean, I'm a pretty good judge of age. And I would estimate that my assailant was between 19 and maybe 22 at the time. And the thing is, knowing that he's still out there and that he's done it to me, the odds are great that he's done it to others since me.
It sounds like knowing that he's out there really causing you some distress.
Yeah, it really does. Because I feel like because I couldn't identify him, that other people are at risk now.
Sounds like you're putting some blame on yourself as well.
I still have some blame on myself about it.
Can you elaborate on that some?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really why I wanted to go and look at those mugshots so bad right then, because I thought to myself, if there's anything that I can do to prevent one person from going through this heinous event that I've gone through, then I want to do it right now. And then knowing that that image of him was fleeting, um, and then knowing that the detective was not going to honor my wish to let me look at mugshots that night also was just so destroying of my, hopes that I would be able to, lend a hand in his being put behind bars and not being able to hurt somebody else the way he had hurt me.
Definitely sounds like that's upsetting to you.
Yeah, it's very upsetting because I can only speculate that he's probably out there doing it to other people. People who, rape people tend to usually do it multiple times, not just once.
So it almost sounds like you're carrying other people's burdens, that you feel
Yeah.
like he's probably raped more people.
Yeah,
And that you could have been that in line, but
yeah,
you lost that much shot in your brain, and you're carrying that with you.
yeah. And I think, that also may be why I can't watch, the rape scenes and what have you, because I probably still continue to think that's probably him and what he's doing right now. Every time I see like a scene.
So every time you see a rape scene, you think that could be him really
Yeah.
out there raping somebody. And
Yeah.
then you think that you could have stopped it, but you didn't, because you kind of lost his.
Yeah. It's so frustrating, So, yeah.
But definitely, that sounds like that's a tough situation that you're in.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a heavy weight on you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that could be causing some of the, like, do you ever think that and then the stomach situation happens?
Not really. I think it's more so I'll have the stomach feeling and then I'll start thinking about it more. I can't figure out what's triggering the whole, like, something's coming, stomach feeling. I can't figure that out.
You can't figure out what's causing the stomach thing, but
Yeah.
you know when it comes that usually
Yeah.
that means that you're going to start having those nightmares
Yeah.
when you live in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of times, if I do and it gets bad, I'll have to take some time off work, so just to like de-stress and, just do some, self-positive talk and positive self-talk and things like that and just gradually, get back, into the groove of things.
So when the nightmares happen, that's when you have to take off time at work.
Sometimes I do have, if it gets really bad and I start reliving, the rape again and the sodomization, then I just have to take a few days off work so that I can get, through it and, basically get back to where I was before. So, yeah, it's very depressing in that, it affects my work. I would like to one day get to the place where it didn't affect my work at all.
Definitely sounds like that's weighing a heavy toll on you, that it's affecting your whole life, and then also it's affecting your job that you love so much and these kids that you love so much.
Yeah, and then I feel guilty about missing the counseling sessions and what have you, because, I'm the sole guidance counselor for the school. There's not another guidance counselor. So, yeah.
So it definitely feels like you're carrying a lot of guilt around.
Yeah, I feel like I am.
And you're feeling guilty because, you had these nightmares and that you feel like you could have saved someone if you would have pinpointed him out, but you lost his thoughts and that it's still affecting you to a point where you can't, and sometimes you have to take off of work.
I know, and I just hate that. I really hate that. But then, Eric and I just spend some time together, and, he, like, brings me books to read and magazines and things, and I just kind of take it easy for a few days and watch some HGTV or Food Network, and then, you know, it's almost like a cleanse in a way, you know, and I just avoid all references of anything that's violent, include especially rape, but also all violence of any kind for a few days when that's going on, and then I can gradually get back to where it's manageable again.
So it sounds like you take those few days just to kind of bring yourself back,
Yeah.
get yourself together, collect your thoughts, and then, you know, you have your supportive husband who just kind of brings you books and just kind of helps you through it. And then once you get through it, you go back to work.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then I go back to work, and then I'm manageable level again for a while, you know, until it happens the next time. So I'm really like glad that we didn't have kids, because I feel like it would have been so unfair to them for me to not be able to be emotionally like 100% with them available.
Yeah. So it feels like because of your emotions and how you feel and kind of how you are kind of flatline situation emotionally, not emotionless, but just kind of in a,
Right.
you don't go up, you don't go down. There's a flatline situation. That you feel like it was fair for you to choose not to have kids because you wouldn't be able to contribute those emotions that they'll need to them.
Yeah. I just feel like the kids deserve more, you know, than I was capable of giving to them at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And I mean, it was a big decision, you know. I mean, I'm actually named Fenmore because my dad's mother's maiden name was Fenmore. So that's how I got my name. And I feel like that's kind of like how my dad, like, how come he, like, favors me a little bit and I'm his little girl and what have you. But, and he was a great dad. And my mom was awesome too, you know what I'm saying? I had a great childhood, and I really don't think it's fair. It wouldn't have been fair to me to bring a kid into anything less than that.
So it sounds like it was a hard choice for you to make.
Yeah. It was super hard, and now I'm too old, so, you know, it's just like a decision that's been made. I don't know why I'm really revisiting it, but I guess it's just one of those things that, you know, you kind of revisit sometimes and what have you. But it's just been weighing on my mind a little bit lately, you know, the whole, I never got to have kids and that sort of thing. Just seeing, I guess, how much the rape and sodomization took from my life. How much potential, how much possibility it took from me.
It sounds like the rape and sodomization that you keep focusing on that and how much that it took from your life, including the fact that it took that decision to have kids away from you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's even more weight on top of that.
Yeah. It's just another thing, I guess, because you know how you kind of, I guess because I'm in my 40s, I'm kind of like taking stock of what I have done, haven't done, and that sort of thing. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I was going to do that before I was raped. Oh yeah, I was going to do that before I was raped. And it's seeing how much the rape took from me.
It almost sounds like that you're in a current situation where you're just kind of thinking in your past, like, I wanted to do that and I can't do that anymore because the rape took it away from me. I wanted to do that, but I can't do that because the rape took it from me. So it sounds like because you're 40 and you're kind of just revisiting what you could have done.
Right. And I'm like, that was, and I basically, even Eric and I to this day, you know, we'll say, oh yeah, that was VR, you know, before the rape. I mean, and it doesn't make me sad or anything to do that with him, you know, it's just that sometimes we both are talking and we're like, oh, remember when we went to that like coffee shop and, you know, this and this and this happened or whatever, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was VR because I remember being so happy that day, you know, and we'll just be like things like that. So, and then everything, you know, AR after the rape, it was like, oh, remember when we saw that, you know, that art in the park exhibit and, you know, you had to, you know, go use the potty and you couldn't find one and I was laughing my head off because you were doing the pee-pee dance and you were just like, stop. And I was like, oh yeah, that was AR, after the rape because I didn't have the same emotional, level response as he did.
Wow. So it sounds like a lot of your life events and situations that have been in memories, you kind of put it in a category of BR, which is before the rape,
Yeah.
and AR, which is after the rape, and that's how kind of you recall everything.
Oh yeah, definitely. I definitely do. I always categorize memories in that kind of a categorization. Organizational packet, it's like, oh yeah, that was, before the rape, that was after the rape, everything was either before or after. That's my milestone marker for everything. That's my milestone marker. So. And I just, it just really is disturbing how much one instance, I mean, probably the whole thing lasted about an hour tops, can change the direction of your whole life in just that little bit of time.
Sounds like a lot of your feelings in life just focused on that one situation. It's kind of wrapped around before and after that situation.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Sounds like it really disturbs you that happens, that your mind is kind of acting in that manner.
It does because, like, in one way, I feel like I've handled this situation so great.
Yeah.
And in another way, I'm like, oh man, look at everything I've lost from this situation. So it's kind of like, it's never, it's just like so much, on you because you're just like, yeah, I feel like I handled it really well. I could have been a bumbling idiot for, the rest of my life. Or then you're like, yeah, but look at what I didn't do because of that one instance. So it just depends on, sometimes it just depends on your overall mood of the day as to which way you're going to, like, go with. Are you going to go with, like, if I'm in an overall, and I wouldn't say great mood because I don't hit great mood, but I would say overall, good mood. I might be like, oh yeah, I handled that great. But if I'm in an overall not so great mood, then I might be like, yeah, look at all this crap that this took from me. It just depends on what my mood is, sometimes for the day as to how I view it.
It definitely sounds like you feel conflicted a lot.
Yeah.
You feel conflicted.
I do, because I feel like I felt so proud that I made it through it and I'm a survivor, and then I feel so embarrassed that I didn't fight him back. So it's definitely conflicting.
And even to today, the conflicting still occurs because one day you're like, oh, I'm sort of happy. I never reached the high level of happiness, but I'm feeling pretty good today. And then the next minute or the next day, you could be in a mood where, wow, that was my life and that was taken away because of the rape.
Yeah, definitely. And I think too back on like my dad and me and how close we always have been and everything and the life that he envisioned for me. And then I kind of start thinking, oh man, I think I let him down too, So, because we always talked about how, when I had the kids, my kids were going to be the rough and tumble kids that he could throw around in the pool, like he used to throw us in the pool and stuff. And, all the other, children of his, my siblings' kids were going to be like the wussy kids. And my kids were going to be the rough and tumble kids. And, blah, blah. And I was just like, oh man, I just kind of felt like I even let him down, in a way, because I didn't have kids. But one way, and I know that he would never, feel that way or say that he felt that way because we're still to this day extremely close. But, in other ways, I feel like I did really good by him because he was such a consummate, professional educator his whole life. And so I feel like, I kind of followed in his footsteps a little more closely than my siblings did. So, yeah.
So that sounds like another huge weight that you've stacked on top of you there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel good about my academic was.
Yeah.
And I feel like part of that is due to the fact that I did take off the rest of the semester. I took incompletes, and then I, got back to it with all of my efforts. And I've always been naturally smart, so luckily for me, I didn't have to really strain too hard to, get those A's and B's and stuff, and basically I graduated as an honor graduate, thankfully, and I got that from him, he was the smart person in our family. So he was always, really happy that we shared that connection, and it never was, are you going to go to college? It's where are you going to go to college, and stuff like that with him.
So you feel like you've made him proud in that manner.
Yeah.
But you also feel like, on the other hand, once again, conflicted.
Once again.
Because you feel like he's proud of me because I did go to school and I was in honors and I did great and I have a great career. But then I didn't have the kids that me and him, we talked about that he was going to help, just have fun with and be rough and tumble with. So it sounds like you're once again conflicted.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like I deprived him from having the grandkids, you know what I'm saying? Because I couldn't take it, having the kids myself. So it's just, I don't know, it's just a no-win situation sometimes it feels like. But I'm just going to keep trying and pressing on. And, that's why I came today, because I feel like, I've done everything I can do on my own, independently of getting help. And that it's time now, if I want to try to improve, to go forward with a plan and to have a counseling, session regularly so that we can see how that would help in any way.
I think that was a great decision for you to make, to come to counsel and kind of reach out to an olive branch to kind of help you move forward, because you feel like maybe you're stuck into a place that you're feeling conflicted with a lot of different issues. And I definitely think that I can be here to help you through that and that we can work through that. So, Finn, what do you think about scheduling another counseling session for next week around this time, and we can pick up
that
some of
great.
these issues?
That sounds really great because, like tonight this is specifically a good day for me because I have my planning at the end of the day for events and all to promote the guidance counselor's office every Tuesday on the week, and so then I can just run over here and it's real convenient and then run home. So yeah.
Okay, that's great. All right, well, let's get you scheduled in the books and then we'll come and we'll see you next week. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, it was great meeting you.
All right.